The internet has been set on fire once more, and this time, the shock is nearly too much to bear. For decades, Jim Jones and Chrissy Lannon were the couple that everyone thought they knew. Their constant cycle of love and disappointment, their highs and lows, their disagreements and makeups. Everything happened in front of the cameras. Supporters thought they had witnessed every possible turn, but no one, not even Jim, was ready for this. A recent revelation that shocked society has gone viral on social media like a ticking time bomb, only moments after Chrissy's secret sadness. In addition to getting married, Chrissy is also expecting a kid. Indeed, precisely. Now that pregnancy rumors have been verified, the repercussions are dire. Jim's silence was too much. Mama Jones is already using slurs driven by alcohol to disparage the supporters and the internet. They call it the final nail in a love's coffin and the end of an era. Story that used to be typical on reality TV. But how was this secret revealed to the world? Who released it to the public? For Jim, who has been in a downward spiral since Chrissy departed, what does this mean? Put on your seatbelt because this bombshell just tore everything apart. On the internet, the story was considered to have peaked. When Chrissy Lannon shocked the world by disclosing her secret wedding, Jim Jones was stunned and immobilized, on stage as though he had just received a sentence that would be the end of his future. Every blog and talk show had looked at that moment, and millions of replays had already been created. However, the unthinkable happened just as fans were beginning to catch their breath. The entire conversation was altered by a massive leak. Chrissy is not only her husband. Chrissy has a kid on the way. You heard right. The woman who spent 20 years waiting for Jim Jones to provide her with the family she had always dreamed of has revealed that she is expecting a child with Marcus, her new spouse, Bellamy. And when the word got out, there was total chaos. They began as murmurs. A blurry paparazzi photo of Chrissy exiting a Manhattan restaurant with Marcus with a big jacket surfaced despite the beautiful September night. When Chrissy's close friend made a mistake during an Instagram live, fans verified their assumptions by calling her radiant and finally starting a family. Fans had been wondering why she was hiding things all along. Within minutes, clips were ripped, reposted, and shared on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Congratulations to the new couple. Chrissy's glowing for a reason, was the statement that sparked the internet. The bloggers didn't waste any time rambling on. Hollywood Unlocked, The Room of Shade, Gossip of the City. All of them yelled headlines. Chrissy and Marcus Bellamy are expecting their first child together after the secret wedding announcement. The comment section sprang to life like fireworks. Supporters were divided, outraged, and furious. Some folks were happy. 20 years passed while she waited. Jim needed to give her a family. Marcus gave her one less than 2 years later. That's love. There were others to defend Jim. No, she is horrible for this. Jim gave his life for her. She turned around and gave his dream to someone else. But there was one thing clear. This story wasn't only widely accepted. This was a mix of anguish, heritage, and betrayal. Jim's answer. They all want that piece. He remained silent for hours. No studio selfies, Instagram tales, silence, or enigmatic tweets. But according to some close to his inner circle, the news had a greater impact on him than Chrissy's marriage announcement. A source who was with him in the studio that night said that Jim sat in the corner holding his phone and played the video of Chrissy's surprise over and over again until he finally declared, "I'm actually pregnant." Before they hurried out, there was a brief silence. Rumor had it that by midnight, Jim had called Freaky Zeke, crying and venting his aggravation. Believed that Chrissy had taken not only his lady, but also his final chance to start a family with her. What I have been begging for, she is giving him. According to Jim, the audio, which was made public a few hours later by a gossip blogger who said he got it from a close friend in Harlem, went viral among fans, demonstrating Jim's brokenness. Irreversible. At that time, Mama Jones, who of course was unable to resist, took over. She went live, from the kitchen, drinking a glass of wine and looking straight into the camera. Her speech was rambling. Regardless, no one speaks. A baby is a present. Yes, but don't act as though my child hasn't been fighting demons for the past 20 years. I love that woman. She went with another man to have a child. It's not good, believe me, I had to tell her straight out. Fans quickly interrupted her diatribe and published it on social media. Others grabbed Chrissy and said, "Blame your son, not the woman who left," while others assisted her in typing, "Mama, preach." Following the dispute, Chrissy and Team Jim trended once more, but this time the hashtag #JarChrissisBaby was trending internationally. Chrissy had defiled Jim. She disclosed in the published footage from the reunion afterward that she had miscarried years before, which was never made public until much later, but it was the history. Everyone remembered the pain Chrissy endured that truly shocked people to their core, not just the pregnancy itself. That Jim had been physically there but emotionally absent at that trying time. Fans played those old films to remind everyone that Chrissy had previously begged Jim for therapy and family commitment, but she never got it. Marcus had given her all she asked for in less than 2 years. Twitter was harsh, and Jim had nothing but silence, a husband, a ring, and a child. According to a well-liked tweet with 500,000, Jim Jones gave her 20 years of potential. For 2 years, Marcus introduced her to the outside world. "This ain't just a baby," someone else said, and Chrissy was begging for this family as Jim was busy flaunting his chains. Then the music rumors began to circulate, with fans claiming that Jim was in the studio working on another garbage song. Something even more personal than his recently, Instagram went viral with memes of Dipset album covers photoshopped with baby bottles, strollers, and cribs. I should have learned about freestyle sooner. Video makers on TikTok used lullabibas to mock Jim's silence at Chrissy's wedding reveal, turning his grief into content for the internet. The public was unaware, however, that Chrissy's pregnancy had allegedly been leaked to Real Live's producers prior to the reunion. According to an unidentified crew member, Chrissy was feeling under the weather and requested that her scenes be shortened. Producers established the links but remained silent, allowing the wedding announcement to blow up before the pregnancy rumors circulated on their own. If true, it meant that they had purposefully set Jim up again, letting him be caught off guard again. Hip-hop and a long period of love. As a result of the dispute, which split the fan base, viewers began posting old recordings of Chrissy proposing to Jim in 2011 to compare them to the news of her pregnancy. Films of one knee side by side in 2011 were tweeted by one fan account. Chrissy was caressing her stomach in 2025. Caption: 14 years later, she shared that moment to someone else. Chrissy hadn't said anything yet, which was the most ridiculous thing of all. There was no post or confirmation, just silence, which just fueled speculation. Was it produced or was it real? One thing is certain, though. Was this just another outstanding production to keep the world interested? Jim Jones was going crazy. Heartbreak memes now showed a man who formerly prided himself on his Harlem toughness and dedication. The pregnancy bombshell not only caused him pain, but it also destroyed the reputation he had built over the years. After the news spread, one question dominated social media. If Chrissy is pregnant, how far will Jim go to get her back or ruin everything? When it comes to Jim Jones, silence never lasts long. For a whole day, the world was filled with whispers. Mama Jones made fun of the blog, which made it clear. Fans quarreled endlessly over it. Since a woman like Chrissy, who has never hesitated to voice her opinions, stays silent while the world burns to the ground, the story got louder when she herself kept silent. You know she's about to drop something major, and then she did out of the blue. The exact time was 8:07 p.m. Chrissy broke her silence with an Instagram picture that sent the globe into a frenzy. It was a picture of her hand with no words or tags, showing Marcus's palm gently covering hers, while the golden ring that was resting on her stomach shone in the fading light. In only a few seconds, the comments were exploding, with fans, bloggers, and celebrities all contributing something. "Mama, congratulations." "You deserve it all," Cardi B remarked. "Happiness," remarked Tamer Braxton. "Yes, a new chapter brings with it good things." Jim had been waiting for this moment for years, but the most powerful comments came from fans who had been following their affair for over a decade. "It isn't simply a pregnancy," she told herself. Chrissy was crowned by the internet for his abdominal closure. She was ridiculed for waiting for a man for the first time in years. A team Chrissy was taking over Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and she was getting a lot of accolades for deciding to be herself, moving on, and finally starting the family she had always wanted. She was accused of being nasty by some, yet there was a critic who was keen to discredit her for every admirer. Why humiliate Jim like this? She might choose to keep it private. Others say she was vindictive. She is showing off her joy in spite of him. But here's the thing. Chrissy didn't care since her silence had already been broken and her truth was louder than anyone's opinion. Marcus, who had previously been a supporting character in Chrissy's life, finally took center stage. A humble man who avoided the cameras, the mystery architect was drawn into the chaos when the pregnancy was revealed. He couldn't avoid it. The very next morning, photographers caught Marcus escorting Chrissy to her doctor's office in Midtown Manhattan. As he took her past the crowd, Chrissy from the cameras threw his arm over her for protection, unlike Jim, who typically utilizes these situations as photo ops. Within an hour, the photo was on TMZ, and the headline said it all. Where Jim never showed up, Chrissy's new boyfriend did. The photo left a lasting impression on fans. Marcus finished it easily in less than 2 minutes, and Jim Jones, the guardian for 20 years, just became more critical. Blogs revived old recordings of Jim disregarding Chrissy's pleas, skipping therapy, and avoiding talking about his wedding, which TikTok then put into a viral montage. The fresh image of Marcus with the caption, "This is the man she begged Jim to be," caused the comments to explode in anger when Mama Jones went live again. It was obviously emotional this time. "I have never disliked Chrissy, you see," she added, holding her wine glass tighter than ever before, her voice cracking. "That woman whom I admire dedicated 20 years of her life to raising my child. It's the wound that doesn't heal, though, and this child has a different father. I don't care what no one says. Jim wasn't designed to endure this kind of pain." Her comments just made things worse. Team Jim supporters surrounded him, accusing him of being publicly degraded and deceived, not only by Chrissy but by the producers who orchestrated the reunion ambush. The dispute was no longer limited to two lovers, but Team Chrissy supporters replied, saying that she owed Jim nothing after decades of unmet promises. When Jim finally broke the dot, whole fan bases became involved, each convinced that their stance was valid. "They always told me that the people you love the most will cut you the darkest," he said late one evening with a blank screen and a mysterious story. In a matter of minutes, it was shared hundreds of times, and fans speculated endlessly. The most horrifying theories claimed that it wasn't a diss at all, while some thought it was a barb at Chrissy or the creators. Insiders speculated that Jim was not eating, but it was a cry for help since he had been cooped up in his studio for 3 days, speaking very little and sleeping very little. He punched a hole in the wall when he heard Marcus's name, according to one tale, then broke down in tears when he saw Chrissy's Instagram post. The man who was once the pinnacle of Harlem toughness was crumbling in front of everyone. And now it was more than rumors. Pain was palpable. But Chrissy, she didn't look back. A few days after she revealed she was pregnant, she and Marcus flew to Miami for a quiet getaway, and paparazzi captured them walking barefoot on the sand. Chrissy giggled uncontrollably, and Marcus carried her footwear as if he only cared about her comfort. The picture's caption said it all: peace after 20 years of chaos. The tranquility didn't last, though, as Jim wasn't satisfied with staying silent forever. The morning after Chrissy's beach photos went viral, a heartbreaking snippet of a new Jim Jones song appeared online. The lyrics make mockery of Chrissy's pregnancy, and the song featured a slow, unsettling beat that was brimming with pain. "I put the post myself, but she is carrying another man's seed while wearing my ghost. You build a house with him." They say the tale is that there was no ring for 20 years. The followers were shocked, though, because she didn't recall all the nights I prayed for herself. Others accused Jim of trying to influence public opinion, while others felt it was his most vulnerable voice to yet. But one thing was certain: Jim wasn't done yet. Kay was using his melancholy to create music, and the fact that he was following Chrissy's pregnancy caused an instant cultural clash. Online hysteria sprang out, with memes taking over timelines. The viral TikTok displayed a split screen, with Chrissy rubbing her stomach on one side as Jim raps in the studio. The message said, "This ain't love and hip-hop no more." And just when fans thought it could get much worse, the biggest leak to date was discovered by an unnamed source. According to reports, Jim had already written his speech and planned to propose to Chrissy at the reunion ring he had already purchased. The pregnancy had now permanently closed the door, and Jim never had the chance because he was taken aback by Chrissy's wedding announcement first, the insider said. If that was true, it meant that Jim had been only a few seconds away from giving in to Chrissy's requests, only to experience the worst possible turn of events and lose her forever. The news spread like wildfire, and some people felt sorry for Jim, calling it the story of the greatest pain. The split grew more nastier, more uglier, and more personal as others ridiculed him, saying that his 20 years of delay was karma. This became lines of war. Fairness for Jim liked our Chris's pot. However, in spite of the misunderstanding, one thing was clear. Jim Jones was no longer a part of the story Chrissy was writing, and she had more in mind than just starting a family. Because when love turns into a legacy and heritage becomes loss, the following step is never modest, even if that fact was extremely painful for him. and everyone else was watching to see how he responded. If Jim Jones has anything else to say, it won't be silenced. It's explosive. The question that keeps coming back to everyone will be shouted. What happens when Chrissy leaves him and Marcus, her new husband, finally gets to see him in person? Internet people thought they had already seen the pinnacle, but the guy is still hurting from her past love for him. It has been verified that Chrissy is pregnant. Jim became quiet. Mama Jones dousing the fire with gasoline with her awkward live broadcasts. But just when fans thought this story couldn't get any more bizarre, fate delivered the moment no one saw coming. Very rapidly. The world couldn't take its eyes off Chrissy's new husband, Marcus Bellamy, as he stood face-to-face with Jim Jones. At first, there were reports of a private gathering to mark the anniversary of a Harlem community youth program. Unaware that there would be others, Jim and Marcus had each received individual invites, and Marcus was there as the keynote speaker. After all, he was the famous architect who was developing the city's new cultural centers. In other words, the arrangement was perfect for Jim's little performance, which was to include some old die-cut classics. Expecting chaos, the first blurry images surfaced late in the evening. Across the room from Marcus, Jim was dressed in a tight gray suit with gold and black sweatpants. Chrissy was shining by his side. The strain in the photo was thick enough to pierce with a knife. Fans quickly shared the image on Twitter, using terms like history and the stare-down we've been waiting for. Against the future, in a single frame. However, the image did not capture what happened when Jim finally exited the room. According to many witnesses, Jim strolled up to Chrissy and Marcus without hesitation. The audience fell silent and the drinks paused. Conversations ceased and Jim's words quickly eased the tension. "This guy is clearly anxious, Chrissy." He tried to step in. But Marcus didn't give up. "Not here, Jim." "Yes, I am the guy who arrived," he said calmly but forcefully. Gasps echoed across the room, and even those who weren't there realized they were seeing history as soon as they heard about the viral drama. A bystander's phone recorded the exchange, and the video swiftly gained popularity on Twitter. "This isn't love and hip-hop anymore," the person said. According to the message, Marcus finally checked Jim Jones. This is real life. Jim struggled to keep his composure as emotions of rage, grief, and confusion mingled, and his face told the story. "It's nothing, like, and you really think you can come into my life and take away 20 years of it?" He became angry. Marcus did not flinch. He leaned in and spoke calmly, "And I didn't take anything. She waited while you disclosed it. You paused. She is currently working with me to create." Their comments spread like a nuclear explosion on the internet, and fans clipped them and repurposed them in memes and TikTok audios. She waited, and even though you broke the silence and altered the scenario, things didn't stay calm. A security guard tried to step in as Jim's voice rose, but Chrissy yelled, "Stop!" Her voice cracked with sobbing, and she clutched her stomach. "This isn't my intention. This kid. Not right now, this kid." That silenced the room. "Not while I'm carrying this child." The reality hit Jim again, and he melted for the first time, his eyes dropping to her stomach. The consequences were evident even though the video ended at that point. Every platform was flooded with hashtags like "on Chris's baby," "she waited you delayed," and "Marcus vs. Jim." One fan in the crowd said he said, "That was supposed to be us." Fans got into a never-ending debate. Marcus looked after them like a king, firm but cool and polite. Jim looked like he was broken. He wanted to smoke, but couldn't bring himself to be nasty to Chrissy. Chrissy needs to step in. That is pain in real time. The video was played over and over. The number of response videos on YouTube was overwhelming. Depressing R&B tracks were used in dramatic edits by TikTok's creators. Far away. Even celebrities take part in the conversation. A shade room with a laughing emoji was uploaded by 50 Cent. Laughing emoji was uploaded by 50 Cent. Remy Ma's tweet, "Sometimes the truth don't need a beat. It's just facts," was followed by the biggest surprise a few hours later. A second video was released backstage. In the grainy footage, Jim can be seen pacing and yelling at his employees, his voice breaking. "I'm not him. He doesn't know what we've been through. She is not only carrying my child, but also his history as well. This ain't music. This is my life," Jim mumbles when someone from Kimura inquires as to if he plans to come out with another song about it. The video was unpolished, brutal, and unsightly. Supporters weren't sure if they should feel sympathy or disdain. It proved that Chrissy was still Jim's favorite, some said. Others claimed it showed his focus on the past and his refusal to accept responsibility. Then came Chrissy's remark. In an exclusive interview with a women's leisure magazine, Chrissy made her pregnancy, her marriage, and her fight with Jim Public for the first time. "I never wanted it to be ugly. I never wanted to make him feel inferior," she said. "But I could not stay in limbo any longer. Not 25, not even 35 is my age. As a grown woman, I deserve a future, a family, and peace." I heard it directly from Marcus. "I can't apologize for my decision to choose joy." The article went viral right away. What she said was screenshotted, shared, and examined by others. Fans praised her courage, calling it the resolution she deserved. But those who accused her of changing history pulled her along. "You were aware of the situation," with one responder commented. "Jim, you desired the notoriety. You want pity now?" And with that, despite all of this turmoil, Marcus maintained his composure. He didn't give back the clap and didn't post any questionable tweets. Instead of going online, he reaffirmed his support for Chrissy. It made headlines when a few days later, he was photographed smiling as he packed his car with belongings and left a baby shop. Because Jim had returned to the studio when Marcus was shopping for baby clothes, Marcus prepares to become a dad as Jim prepares for combat. According to leaks, a full project was underway. A mixtape that was expressly aimed at Chrissy and Marcus and contained dislines, betrayal, and pain. Rumor has it that one of the songs is called History, Don't Replace Me. As if that weren't enough fuel, Mama Jones plunged into the whirlpool once again. The fans lost it when, in a late-night diatribe, she accused Marcus of stealing her family's legacy and said, "The child will always hear my son's name as they grow up." Some called her spiteful, others thought she was simply hurting, as many moms do. But one thing became clear. This was about pride, legacy, and identity, and it was no longer just about Chrissy and Jim. Everyone on the internet had an opinion, whether it was expressed in forums, memes, podcasts, or debates on live streaming. Team Jim says she destroyed his heart, while Team Chrissy says she finally found her happily ever after. Out on national television and Team Marcus, they said he was the quiet storm that gave Chrissy what she had been begging for. Unwavering love. But as the aftermath of their fight faded, one problem remained more urgent than ever. If his leaked lyrics were any indication, the CD was about Marcus as much as Chrissy. Then what happens when Jim finally releases his new song? Additionally, the hip-hop community was about to be drawn into a war following 20 years of love, silence, and betrayal. The most horrifying part, Jim's and everyone knows that Jim Jones won't just blow up on stage when he does. So the unease was growing instead of going away. There you have it. This incident has had a significant influence on the internet, reality TV, and hip-hop. Chrissy Lamin didn't simply announce her marriage in secret or simply go when it came to Jim Jones. In addition to confirming her pregnancy, she dropped a bombshell that completely upended our assumptions about one of the most well-known couples in the world. Now Jim has just his pain, his song, and a decision that might change everything. But the issue is what follows next. Will Marcus finally punch back, defending his wife and unborn kid, or will Jim transform his sadness into the most disastrous difference society has ever heard? Or will Chrissy keep silent and not let the turmoil overwhelm the peace she has built for herself? These days, this goes beyond hearsay. This is the past, breaking apart in real time. I promise you that the next chapter will only become messier because Jim's mixtape could be released. Insiders are murmuring that it will be more than just a disc. It will be a declaration of war. And after that, every single fan, blog, and well-known individual will be forced to take a side. That's why I want to hear you. Do you think Chrissy made a mistake by openly moving on? Or did Jim keep her waiting for decades, digging his own grave? Which side? Do you support your Team Jim or in Team Chrissy? Since the conversation is only getting started, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. Additionally, if you want to be sure you don't miss Jim's eventual release of the diss song, you click like, turn on post, and subscribe. Notifications due to this story. Oh, it's not quite finished yet.